Mercedes C63 AMG S, a longtime champion of the luxury sports sedan segment. I have the word luxury in front of it because BMW, with the M3, has dominated the sports sedan segment. However, I think with the all-new redesign, Mercedes has what it takes to be a better car overall than the M3 and M4. This specific 2017 model is an AMG S. That means it's more expensive. It has more power. It's got leather seats as standard instead of the non-AMG S, which does not. It's got a nicer steering wheel. All of the accents are now body colored and the exhaust tips are chrome. However, this has the night package, which returns all of that back to gloss black. The tips, they look mean. The normal C63 AMG makes 469 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque out of a 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8. Yes, gone is that magnificent 6.2-liter V8. Times are changing, the climate matters, downsized boosted engines are coming into play. But I'm pleased to say it sounds absolutely marvelous, and that added torque is definitely welcomed. The AMG S model makes 503 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. Let's compare that to the BMW M3 for a second. Both those figures over 500. The M3 makes 425 horsepower and 405 pound-feet of torque. That is quite a lot less. It also has a 3-liter twin-turbocharged inline-6, which doesn't sound nearly as good as this V8 does. Speaking of sound, this is equipped with the optional performance exhaust. It's $1,250 and is mandatory. It sounds absolutely superb. You've got a button here in the center console that you can click, and it is the loud button. It's the button you should have activated at all times. Opens up the baffles, makes the exhaust a lot louder. Let's floor it, shall we? Oh! That sounds so good. When you downshift, it gives a little backfires and pops, and man, is this car fast. That 516 pound-feet of torque is available at an extremely low RPM, so it doesn't matter if you're at 2,000 RPMs in the wrong gear, you floor it and wow! It throws you back into your seat. Now, it's mated to a 7-speed automatic multi-clutch transmission. The previous generation 7-speed automatic was, well, terrible. It was clunky, and oftentimes it would deny your shift or miss shift altogether totally wrong. This, much, much faster. Downshifts are seemingly instant, upshifts are as well. It's not quite as fast as BMW's DCT, but I still like the transmission quite a bit. To put the transmission into manual mode, you've got a button here on the center console that has the shape of 2 gears meshing. Now I'm in manual, I can shift as I please, and the car is not going to automatically shift from 3rd to 5th when I'm trying to floor it. We've got another button for the suspension. We've got 3 different settings. When there's no lights lit up, that means we are in comfort mode. When there's 1 light lit up, that's sport mode, and 2, it's in sport plus. There's actually a massive difference between all of the modes. In Michigan, the roads are terrible, so riding over bumps in Sport Plus, you feel them really intensely. It's rigid, so you have no body roll in the turns. When you put it in comfort mode, it rides really well, and this C63 is absolutely something that you could daily drive. If you put it in drive, you don't have it in Sport Plus or race mode, you have the comfort setting on the suspension, anyone could drive this car. It's not intimidating whatsoever. And the traction control is very advanced. Without cutting in too hard where it's scary and jerky, it makes it so the wheels don't slip too much so you accidentally end up sideways. Of course, you can turn all that off, put it in race mode, and make the car go sideways on purpose. That is a lot of fun. Let's talk about the driving mode, shall we? We've got individual, which allows you to customize the transmission, the throttle response, the suspension, all to your individual liking. Then we've also got comfort mode for daily drivability, sport, sport plus, and race. When you put it into race, it reduces the traction, puts the gearbox into manual mode, puts sport plus on the suspension, and it is ready for the track. Or if you're a hardcore driving enthusiast like myself, for the road at all times, whenever possible. Oh, it sounds so good. I've got an awesome optional heads-up display in front of me, absolutely necessary. Allows you to keep your eyes on the road and alerts you when you need to shift. The interior is first rate. We've got this saddle brown Designo leather that honestly looks a lot less like poop in person than it does probably on this video. I actually love this color interior, the quilted leather stitching, and how these seats hug you. The bolstering is enormous, and it just holds you right in place, and you can tell that performance was the first thought in mind when Mercedes-AMG developed the C63 AMG S. They're comfortable as well, so for long road trips, not a problem at all. We've got plenty of space, and surprisingly, you've actually got tons of leg room in the back as well. Overall, all of the materials and the design language in the new C-Class, but also the C63 AMG, are brilliant looking. We've got an awesome looking hollowed out Burmester sound system. Everything is just, I'm just blown away by this interior. It is so much better than any of its competitors, the ATS-V, the BMW M3, maybe the Audi RS5, that you can almost just pick this car purely because of the interior advantage, and then you couple in the most powerful engine in its class, the best sounding engine in its class. It's incredibly fun to drive. The seating position finally is perfect. Wow, I really like the new C63. Now there are some shortcomings, of course. The entertainment screen is kind of cheap and terrible looking. I'm sure when they do a refresh or a next generation, they're going to incorporate the massive center screen like they have in the E-Class and the S-Class. It looks a bit out of date, like an iPad mini screwed on to the center. The graphics are very nice, however. When you click the button and put it into race mode, a nice animation comes up of your C63 with an open engine compartment. You can see the internals. There's different graphics for the different driving modes that you have, but it's becoming, it's crazy to say, kind of small for today's standard, and it's just not as fluid in the design. But neither is the BMW M3. On another list of shortcomings, the steering wheel has Alcantara right at 9 3, and it can be a little bit slippery. I kind of wish it was just leather wrapped all the way around. I'm sure with driving gloves it's phenomenal, but if you're driving it normally, it feels a little bit more slippery than you would like. However, the paddles are in the perfect position. They don't feel cheap at all. That's a problem with a lot of cars nowadays, is everything's great, but then they cheap out on the things that you touch the most often. On a performance car, you've got to have nice feeling paddles, and these are very sturdy metal. You can't bend them back and forth at all, and they are, of course, very responsive. We've also got a nice looking analog instrument cluster in the front. It says it goes up to 200 miles an hour, although the top speed of this is drag limited to 180. The C63 weighs a little bit under 4,000 pounds, but with 516 pound-feet of torque, that means 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. This thing is so fast. It doesn't matter what gear you're in, third gear, oh my god, it thrusts you back into your seat hard. This is addicting. It is really fun to drive, and it handles well through the corners as well. It doesn't feel like your usual C63 that's just tail happy and not the best through the corners. This is actually fun to drive, both mashing the throttle on the freeway, doing burnouts, but also through tighter, twisty roads. I've driven the new C63 AMG S Coupe out on the track and was blown away by how good of a job that Mercedes has done. And I would honestly pick this 10 times out of 10 over the M3 and the coupe version over the M4 any day. This is one of those cars where it doesn't happen often, but you drive it and you think, man, I don't necessarily have a need for this, but I want it really, really badly. In terms of storage, we've got a center compartment that folds open here. We've also got a compartment in the center dash area that has a beautiful AMG logo on it. The wood trim is stunning, and it looks brilliant mixed with the aluminum trim, as well as the black and saddle brown interior appointments. Overall, I've been blown away by the C63 AMGS. I love this car. I would recommend it. 3 thumbs up if I had a third hand. I hope you enjoyed this review. Special thanks to Corporate Auto for making this possible. This car is available there now. I look forward to seeing you next video.